in your community.
It is hard to believe, but this year marks 23 years since the September 11th attacks on our country. But for those of us who did live through it, it seems like yesterday. Well, this year, the Scenic City Women's Network is once again holding a special remembrance, this year featuring General B.B. Bell. Renee Nail and Phyllis James join us this morning. Good to see you both.
Good morning.
I really, when y'all first did the outreach, was thinking this was something special for this year. I had forgotten, Renee, you've done this every year for the full 23? Is that right?
No, we took it over back in 2017.
Okay.
From another group had been doing it, and so they asked us if we would take it over, so we were honored to be asked.
Depending on your age, as you watch this morning, I could lob this question to you and say, where were you on that morning? Do y'all remember where you were?
Very much so.
Where were you?
I was actually in Birmingham, but I had actually been scheduled to be in New York that week, and the trip was canceled. And I'll never forget, because as I walked into my workplace, they had the TVs on and everybody was gathered in this large lobby that we had. And no one moved. For the next like 4 to 5 hours, we were literally glued to that television.
Where were you?
I was at work, and my son called me and told me that the Twin Towers had been hit. He heard it on the radio, and you just stopped. You just stopped what you were doing. You were fixed on the television or on the radio.
I was at Brainerd Baptist School counting money from a Christmas wrapping paper collection that had happened in the fall, looking ahead to Christmas, and the news came down, and I thought, no, it couldn't possibly be. And you're right, all anybody did for days to follow actually was stay at home, watch the television, and then the other thing that happened, people will remember, is the churches opened up and people just flooded, remember?
Yes.
So this event then that you're having on September 11th that you do all these years is to kind of keep that unity in place, is that right?
It's
Very
an
much so.
opportunity for the community to come together and remember and commemorate that tragedy so that we never forget. And we take the time to pray for the families that were lost that day. And then to also remember our military and our first responders that did such a yeoman's job that day and for days on end.
So that takes us then over to General Bell. He was at the Pentagon, is that right, that morning?
Yes, he was, and in fact we're very anxious to hear his complete story, because you can imagine what he would have been involved with in that moment. I mean, just think about it. We as just viewers of that day, we were in denial. I know everyone as we sat there stood there that day watching the television in that lobby, we couldn't believe this was really happening. You kept waiting and hoping that it really wasn't what it was being said to be.
Right.
So I can't imagine what his particular duties and responsibilities were that day as he was dealing with it right there on the ground.
So what y'all do is you open up, it's the atrium, right, at the courthouse where this will be held at high noon on September 11th, but you want to get there a little early because there will be a crowd.
There will be.
There's no charge to you. You just come and hear what General Bell has to say. He's an excellent speaker if you've never heard him before. But I think it's interesting that you're choosing to pray for those families and that I brought up the churches and how those doors open. If you don't remember that time,
We were together as a nation.
We were.
If you're a young person and you're thinking, gosh, has our country always been this fractured? The answer is no.
Exactly.
We were all New Yorkers that day.
That's right.
We were all Americans that day.
True.
I'm going to just say this unfiltered. Was that the time when everyone came just to the churches, or was there an event at Memorial Auditorium? Do y'all recall? Or was that after our July 19th attack, or our July 16th attack?
I think that was after the local attack here. But we as a nation, as you point out, we were totally in unity. I mean, it was interesting to see how we had not only pulled together, we were praying together as well. And that's one of the reasons, like when we started this event, and it really had materialized out of a day of prayer. So in addition to being a time to honor these, memorialize them, it's also a time to pray for our country, to pray for our local government, to pray for public servants, to pray especially for our military, those who have stepped out and how are serving this country, and know that there could be any moment in time whereby they would be giving their lives for this country.
I know that it's easier said than done because your kids are in school and they don't really want you to come check them out for something like this anyway. I've raised them, I know. But the truth is, children enjoy watching adults and just quietly learning from them by example, what an inspirational day this would be for a young person to witness.
It really would. As we bring the honor guard out and they post the colors, and so it's a solemn occasion, it's a dignified occasion, and just to let them see how we treat a day like that.
It's a gift back to the community,
is.
is what it is, because you don't really ever want to forget,
No,
certainly,
you don't. In
that
fact,
day.
there's a famous quote by Lincoln that says, "A country that does not honor its heroes does not long endure." And that is so true, even after, that was 200 years ago, and it's still very, very true.
And to know that even though this did happen in New York and in Washington, D.C. and in Pennsylvania, we have these local connections here as well. So thank
Very
y'all
much
for doing
so.
this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
having us.
Hope to see you there. It's all part of the Scenic City Women's Network. It's 9/11, a day of remembrance. This year's featured General B.B. Bell. So be there at 12 o'clock, and you can always learn more. Perhaps you would want to join their network as well at scwn.org.
When it comes to your health, local matters. So join me for Eye on Health Reports. Local